It's a good day to brew. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Millzy back with Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millzy Brews, and we are into the official release of Dominaria United. Man, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out in this set. There's a lot of stuff that's got me brewing on my own, but there's an idea that's been floating around the back of my head, and I thought, why not save it for the episode here? This is definitely a deck that I want to test out and try for myself. But I figured, why not brew it together? Today we're looking at Joda the Unifier, 5-color human wizard, 5/5. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile the top card of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with less CMC. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. So Joda is really interesting here. We have kind of a cool lord for legendary creatures, as well as we get a little mini cascade for legendary spells. I think there's a lot of different ways you can take Joda. I've seen people going the Super Friends route, some people using a lot of different things, but my thought process for Joda was, I want to go 5-color humans. You know, I've been playing a Kyler Selesnya humans deck, and I like it, but I see so many humans, especially in the Abzan colors and in the Naya colors, that I think are really cool. And as much as I like them, I just haven't yet to find the 1 or 2 commanders that I really want to pilot the deck. And then I looked at Joda and said, well, Joda is Joda's a lord for all humans, which I think is really cool, as well as it's 5 colors, meaning we can play all of the good humans we want to play, and we can still be nitpicky. Just because we're in 5 colors doesn't mean we have to play all 5 colors across all of our spells. I'm not necessarily going to go the route of the precon, where it focused on playing cards that were all 5 colors. In fact, there's a lot of 2 and 3 color humans that I really want to play. So that is my intention for this deck. I think first I want to start with the visual difference here. We're going to be trying Architect. I'm a big Moxfield guy, and it's what I've used for a really long time. But I've heard a lot of people give a lot of really good things to say about Architect. And so I thought, why not for Millzy Brews? We just switch over to Architect. Both of my previous episodes of Millzy Brews are up here and on this link to here. So there's going to be a link down in the description to this deck as well. And we're just going to see what comes of it. So anyway, I want to start with the land base. And I'm only going to go so far because I think the problem that I've found with 5-color decks in the past is we need to determine kind of, I found with 5-color decks, you need to determine what 3 colors or what 2 or 3 colors you really want to focus in. My hunch tells me it's going to be Naya, because a lot of our red and green enchantments are going to help us with combat, which I feel like is the way we're going to need to win the game. But I feel like that could change as we get further and further into this deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with all of our fetch lands, because I think that our fetch lands are going to give us the best. I think they're going to give us our best base as far as getting lands. But I think the next question, the hardest question to me with this is going to be, in my Shrines deck, my 5-color Shrines deck, I played 10 fetch lands, 10 shock lands, 10 triomes, and I played a few 5-color lands. What I'd like to try this time around is seeing what just slightly limiting our colors. If we reduce our tri-lands and our shock lands and all that down to our main 3 colors, what end game will that help us with as far as mana consistency? Because at the end of the day, this is going to be the hardest part of a 5-color deck, is keeping your land base consistent and making sure every game we play, we're getting a good color, a good balance of color, right? All the fetch lands are great because they can go get the triomes, they can go get the shock lands because they all have dual typings. But the big question is going to come down to, what do I play in the other slots? So what I was thinking was 10 fetch lands, 10 triomes, And the reason here is I think the triumphs will just end up helping us no matter what. We're going to try to play a few, you know, chromatic lantern-esque effects to make all of our lands tap for anything. But I think all of the tri-lands are just going to help us along the way, especially when we go start to cast these 5-color cards. We got Jetmir's Garden, we got Spar's Headquarters, we got Zeator's Proving Ground, we got Rafine's Tower, and then I know I'm missing one. We got Xander's Lounge, that's right. Okay, so as far as the rest of the lands go, we're going to probably plan for between 34 and 35 lands, but I think I want to wait and come back. I don't think I've ever actually... Sorry, guys, I've never played around with this before. Table. Let's try this brewer. Nah, I don't really like the look of it. Nah, I don't like text. I guess we'll go with stacks. Okay, so we're going to come back. We're going to come back to the rest of the lands. Mainly because I'm not sure where we're going to land as far as that goes. But what I want to do here is I want to start with the humans. I'm just going to start trying to think of humans off the top of my head I really want to add to the list. And I think one of the first great ones is going to be Catilda. I'm going to go through kind of these 9 humans in my head, because again, that's where my original spot for this deck was. This says human creatures you control have tap, add 1 color of any of this creature's colors. That's going to be great because it's going to allow us to keep going with our strategy. The original commander I had for that, that was not it. The original commander I had for that deck that I think will do us a lot of good here, especially because it's going to give all our creatures, is Smoot, Voice of Dissent, Flash, Double Strike, Vigilance, Haste. Other creatures you control have haste, and we could pay a white and tap it to untap another target creature. That's going to help us because when we go start cascading, we want to make sure that we're giving our creatures great abilities. I'd like to try Kyler in this list. I don't know how often we can make him to the best of the abilities, but even our other humans coming in will definitely give us good abilities. I want to look next at somebody like some of our Ravnica legends, or sorry, Dominaria legends like Baird. I don't mind this Baird, and I don't mind this Baird either. I wish it made human tokens, but both of these are definitely interesting. I love that I'm literally blanking on all of the humans I can think of off the top of my head, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, I'm going to end up finding other humans. But what the other 2 that I'm looking at were something like Kethis, the Hidden Hand. This is going to reduce the amount we need to spend. Oh, it's not a human. Well, it's not a human, so we're going to scratch that. Let's... I pulled up this. What I want to do is I want to look up Legendary and Human. And our commuter cost is all 5. And what we're going to do is we're going to go... I'm going to go with release date. So we're going to see the newest ones first. And I want to see what we can do. Now... we see here that the 40k cards are here. I'm recording this technically after all of the 40k cards have been released. I'm going to try to avoid it at first. At least just for this video. And the reason is because I haven't seen all the cards yet. And I don't want to pick and choose them yet. I want to keep this at the time of Dominaria release, at least at the moment. I like Sten. Sten could be really good. Sten's going to reduce the cost of our other cards, maybe our enchantments or our artifacts, the stuff that's going to help us on the side. So I really like that. I really like the idea of Tori. So we're going to pull that one up on the side. I think I really like that. Zur, I like the idea of, but I don't think it's going to fit exactly what I want to do. I like King Darian. King Darian seems like a great choice. Going to buff all of our creatures up, give them all a bonus. And like I said, my intention here is probably going to be to keep in either the Naya, red, white, green, or Obsidian, green, white, black, as kind of our three main colors. Just because I think it's going to be the easiest three colors to acquire, especially with other cards. Green specifically, we need to make sure that we have lots of the ramp colors in green. All right, so I'm just going through humans here. I'm trying to take a look at what I think look really good. I like something like Adriana. This is going to give our creatures melee, which is great. That means when we attack, we're going to get a big buff. I actually don't hate the idea of Atla making eggs, and then when the eggs die, we go get humans off top of our deck. Don't definitely mind something like that. I really like Stang. Stang was one of the ones I was looking at from the Dominaria United Commander cards that I really wanted to build here. It says whenever it attacks, create Stang Twin, a legendary 3/4 red and green human warrior creature token. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. For each Aura equipment attached to Stang, you create a token of it and copy and give it to it. Not as worried about the equipment as far as that goes, but I think Stang is going to do us a lot of good in giving us another attacker. I really like Shanid from the Commander decks. This was going to be one of the cards that I kind of wanted to give a try. Menace. Other legendary creatures you control have Menace, which is going to be great because our intention is for almost all of our humans to be legendary. Whenever you play a legendary land or cast a legendary spell, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So we can play into a few more legendary lands if we want to, but my main intention there is to draw off of that. And the best part is this is on cast and this is on cast. So what we could do is have this go off first and then draw the card off Shanid, just in case we, hit a human we really want. I kind of like the idea of Jensen, only because it adds in that extra option for us on the top end to get all of our colors, and it's going to come down really easy for green-white. So I think it fits the deck really well. I like Kambal, Console of Allocation from, this was from, don't remember what set this was from originally, but it says whenever your opponents cast a spell that they lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. That's going to be great. A little bit of added stuff. I like Karavek. I just wonder if we'll ever actually get that high up on the scale. I mean, we will, but the question is, are we going to play any humans bigger than Karavek, right, to cascade down from Karavek? The only good thing about Karavek is we can use it as a pretty good place to go down from, right, on that cascade from Joda. So I don't mind it. Judith isn't a terrible idea. I just don't know that I love it. We have the original Joda, and I think I'm good on the original Joda. I don't mind Macias, the Lunarch. I think that's worth trying in for now. Like I said, we're probably going to end up definitely cutting the amount of which humans we're playing. I really like Older Raven Guard, especially for this deck, although we do have all legendaries. Not sure why it's showing as red, unless it's because we picked the alchemy. Oh, that's right. That's my bad. It's Duke Raven Guard, Duke Older Raven Guard on the actual card. Okay, so Duke can give a creature we control haste and myriad. We're gonna try to do our best to get rid of the legendary rule, but sometimes that may not pan out for us every time. So at minimum, we can try to find some human that does a good thing when it comes in, and then we can use the myriad that way. So we'll throw that kind of on the back burner for now. All right, I kind of like the look of Commander Liera Porter. Whenever you attack, spells you cast from exile this turn cost X less to cast, where X is the number of players being attacked. Exile the top X cards of your library until in a turn you may cast spells from among those exiled cards. So here, if we attack all of our opponents with all of our humans, we're going to hit the top, and X is going to be 3 maximum. Spells would cost 3 less maximum, right? Because we have 3 opponents. Now, There could be the corner case where we're playing another game where we have more opponents than that, but that could make our humans cost 3 less to cast. The only bad part there is that's only colorless mana that it can reduce. So I think she's definitely worth the idea of, for sure. I mean, I see a lot of those Boros humans probably being really beneficial. Let's see. We get down into the Commander Legends, monocolored humans. I'm not really seeing anything that like really makes me love them, and that's okay. We'll move into Capenna here. Again, I don't see anything that really makes me love it. I like the idea of Jolene. Jolene could help us if we want to go into a little bit of treasures, which I'm honestly not 100% sure yet. But treasures are great, especially for our deck, because we can use them for a lot of different colors, right? So that's going to be beneficial. So here we have our Stranger Things cards. I'm not seeing really anything I love there. I don't mind Risona just because it has haste. So if we get it in off of Joda, it's going to come in and come with haste, and it'll give itself indestructible. Ishin seems like something we could definitely... Ishin seems like something we can play into a little bit if we have a lot of creatures with attacking effects. So I think Ishin's definitely worth it. We can see if we can pay it off. If not, it's something, of course, we can always bring out. I'm trying to think. I haven't read too many of these Street Fighter cards. I don't really see anything there that I love. I like something like Torrens. Torrens is a legendary creature, and then it makes us a token anytime we cast a creature spell. So I like that. That's just going to end up benefiting our board. Halana Elena is one of the big ones of why I wanted to play green-red. Halana Elena, of course, can give our creatures X+ and +1 counters and haste until end of turn. So if it's already out and we do something on Joda and we put a cool creature down in, Halana Elena can give it haste. So I really like the look of that. Where was it? Something like Ghoul Kawargesa seems interesting. Sack another creature, get tokens where tokens is that creature's power, and then you have something like Geralf, which does kind of the same similar thing. Not sure how I feel on those two. I feel like they could be good. For sure, I definitely can see the benefit of them. I'm just not 100% sure. I do love EDHREC, though. I mean, if we're going to try to end the game via combat, since we have this beautiful buff, right, in all of our legendary creatures, we're going to want to end the game by combat. I think EDHREC's going to be a great way to do that for us. We saw Kyler there, which is exactly the route I wanted to go. Got Kadilda there to have our creatures tap for mana, which is something that's going to be red. I kind of like Sereth. That seems interesting. Giving all of our attacking creatures death touch, so if we can give them trample as well, that's going to turn out really well. Love the idea of Adeline. Adeline's just going to help us with creating creatures, and those tokens are humans. So when we get to our enchantments, where we're talking about creating attacking advantage with enchantments, this is going to allow us to continue to push any tribal synergy in the way that we're attacking. So we do also see Wolfgar as well, which I think Wolfgar fits this idea of the same thing as Ishin really well, in kind of doubling our attack triggers. So maybe since we have access to both of those, this is something that we look into thinking about. We see Minsk, which I don't think I dislike the idea of. It's pretty cheap, and it gives us the Boo token, and it can pump our creatures. I actually kind of think I would like to try having the other Minsk as well, Minsk and Bill Timeless Heroes, since it's a Planeswalker as well. I don't mind this when it comes down. It can put counters on things and give things trample or haste, and it can sack things with a fling effect. I think it'll work well in our list. Let's keep going. I think we're gonna get a lot. We're gonna get a lot from like Ravnica and a lot of these older sets. I like the idea of Klain. I just don't know that we can play with that much treasure to make it worth it. Garth One Eye would be a good idea. I've just never liked the card, so I think I'm gonna pass up on that one. Remember, we currently are only looking at humans. So there, of course, are a lot of other legendary creatures that I would love to play, but because we're looking, I'm trying to make this human tribal, it's going to limit us up slightly. Again, I don't think we've gotten limited that slightly. I think we have access to a lot of really good humans. It's just a matter of picking the right things. I don't mind nils. It's something we can come back to, something to give us good effect. I do like Maya in this deck, giving us tokens when we play lands. And it also buffs the rest of our creatures. I think these are the kind of creatures that we really want. They're the kind of creatures that are going to give us a lot of good abilities. I kind of like Safi because we can use it to bring a creature back that died, but I think we're going to wait on that one. Arnie Broken Bow, not too bad, can become the same as another, can become the same power as power +1 as another creature. Not a desperately bad idea. Sigrid would be great defensively, but I just I don't know that I see it. I kind of like Tuva Bearclaw here. Whenever it attacks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn. This is gonna fit with Wolfgar and Ishin. I wrote V instead of Y. This is gonna fit with Ishin and Wolfgar. So that's good. I like that. I think we're starting to kind of maybe find our footing here with what exactly we're trying to do. Ken wouldn't be bad if we were going to play more into the enchantments. I don't think we will. Love the idea of Sakashima, though, especially because it can copy our commander. And then when it's out, the legendary roll doesn't count. So I think we throw Spark Double as well. Now, the only bad part about Spark Double is it's not going to trigger Joda, but it will still be able to double any legendary creature we have. Whereas Sakashima is legendary, so it will trigger the Joda effect depending on what it comes to copy. So I still think both of those are pretty worth it. Both of those are still going to be good, especially to double up those Ishin triggers and the Wolfgar triggers if that's the way we're going to go. I think I kind of like that idea. I think that's the kind of route I think I might want to go since I want to play this a little more aggressively. But I think that's something that as we continue to look through humans, we can determine if that's something we can do. Rick, as much as my playgroup despises the card, seems very good for this deck. Gives all of our humans access to certain abilities. When it enters the battlefield, choose First Strike, Vigilance, or Lifelink. Each opponents you have the chosen abilities, and as long as you have 4 more humans get +2/+2. It's going to come in, it's going to buff all of our humans, and it's just going to make them all better, and it's legendary. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. This is going exactly on the right road. I liked Godo if we're going to go down. I think we're going to play with a little bit of extra combat shenanigans. I just don't think that I want the Godo for it. I don't hate the idea of Neith, only because it's going to draw us extra cards. But I'm not sure on Neith yet. I think it's a good idea. Would love Winota, but the problem is I don't really plan on making non-human creatures, so I don't know how much Winota is actually going to end up doing us any good. I don't think it's actually going to end up netting us any value. Now, we can always come back to Winota if we start adding some more, if we start adding some different things. Like the idea of Haktos. Haktos is a really cool human that I've had the privilege of playing in Winota. But again, I'm not sure how much it's actually going to do well. The thing holding me back here is that it just doesn't have an attack trigger. See, I kind of like this. Whenever it attacks, untap another target creature you control. Till end of turn, that creature has base power, toughness 4/4, and it's indestructible. I think that's the kind of thing that we may want to look into here at this point. If we want to play into this Wolfgar Ishin strategy, that might be a good idea. So I like that. I think that's a good pick. I like the idea of Kenrith, because Kenrith does probably everything that we want to do. It's just a great jack of all trades commander, and so I think it fits the deck pretty well. We'll throw it in there for now. I like the idea of Linden, going to gain us some life back for attacking. I do like Gerard, Weatherlight Hero, though. Whenever it dies, exile it and return to the battlefield all artifact and creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from this turn. Gerard's kind of a board wipe protection for us. So I kind of like Gerard for that reason. Love the idea of Tajik, mainly just because it's going to protect all of our creatures from damage spells. Blasphemous Act, you know, things like that, which means we could potentially run Blasphemous Act. It protects everything. Tajik protects everything but itself. It will still get damaged. Everything else won't. So I kind of like it. I think what I'm going to do for now is I think we've hit a lot of the main humans that I've honestly thought about. So what I would like to do here is switch on over to our enchantment support. Let's add Sirach as well. Now that I think about it, Sirach is going to give our creatures haste at the start of combat, which I really like. Okay, so what I think we're going to do here is we're going to get off our and we'll add Tori for now because it is actually if the red and the white I think will become relevant with. If you look at how many, especially Naya-themed creatures we have, this is perfect. I think that's going to help us out a lot, and it's going to end up that trample and that vigilance is going to end up helping us a ton. Okay, so I pulled up Dominaria United and the Commander set because the Commander set was 5-color. And by that I mean one of the decks was 5 colors. I want to go through really quick. I kind of like the Reaver Cleaver, but it seems like it's going to be expensive to. I feel like it's going to be expensive to get onto something and actually use. Obsidian Obelisk is something I found kind of intriguing. Comes down tap for 2. It can either tap for a color, so tap for a mana of any color that can only be used to cast a multicolored spell. Almost every single human in our deck is multicolored, and so I'm kind of thinking this is going to go really well. For us, I think we looked through most of the new cards here as well. Okay, cool. So let's go through the set as well. Pardon me. Again, we're looking for legendary humans. I know the set's not going to have as many of them, and we would have actually probably already seen them in our search. But the main thing I want to look at here is those, especially those cards at the end. You know, the enchantments and that kind of thing. And see if any of them fit what we're trying to do. So I think we're probably set to just go right down to them. Okay, Astor, I don't mind. I just don't know how much. I don't know how much I'm actually going to be using equipment. Like I see myself using Sword of Feast and Famine and Aggravated Assault, you know, as a combo for extra combats. But it is having Astor in there really worth finding the combo in the top 7. It might be. It might be. Does that mean we played the new Danitha? The new Danitha that when it comes in, we attach something to it? Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may put an aura equipment from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to Danitha. Yeah, I think that might end up being worth it, especially if we're going to go down that route. Urtai seems kind of interesting, but I think we have better options as far as humans go. We'll have better removal options as well, considering we're in all 5 colors. In fact, I think we're going to have the hardest time trying to decide what actual removal to play. You know, we're going to have access to so much removal. I really like Relic of Legends, and the reason I like Relic of Legends in this deck is it's kind of another copy of Catilda, right? Tap an untapped legendary creature you control, add a mana of any color. Remember that it's Relic of Legends ability that's tapping the human and not the creature. So we can get around summoning sickness here, whereas with Catilda we can't because Catilda says it has the ability. So I really like Relic of Legends for that reason. I think it's going to end up doing us a lot of good. I think Timeless Lotus has to get considered, right? I think Timeless Lotus has to get considered, right? It's a 5-mana artifact that taps for all 5 colors. I mean, I don't know that it'll stay in, but it's definitely something's got to keep. Plaza of Heroes seems like an absolute knockout for this deck, being able to tap for any color where that color is the legend you have. or as long as it's a legendary, it can tap for any color. So I really like that. Okay, let's do a little bit of our enchantments and our artifacts, and then we'll do our ramp. And then I think what we're going to do is I have a page for Joda humans pulled up on EDHREC. It looks like some people have already been building it. And then I have just the human tribal page up as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to rock through those, and then we'll make our final cuts. I mean, right now we're at 65 cards, which is pretty good. Our creature count will come down, of course. It will not stay at 38. It'll probably come down to about 30 or 28. But I want to make sure we have lots of options. Okay, so to start, I'm thinking we're going to add our Aggravate Assault combo. So it says for 3 and 2 red, we can untap all creatures we control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by additional main phase. Play this ability only anytime you can play a sorcery. So during our main phase, if we have 5 mana, we can pay 5 mana to give ourselves extra combats. So there's 2 main cards that I know of that go really well with this. The first is Bear Umbra. It says whenever a creature attacks, you untap all lands you control. So no matter whether the creature survives the attack, although the Bear Umbra does protect its first destruction, it's going to untap all lands we control. And then the second is a card like Sword of Feast and Famine. It says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and we untap all lands we control. So I think these cards both work very well in any way, because they're going to allow us to untap all of our lands and play more creatures, but they're also going to pair with Aggravated Assault. Next up, I like something like Beastmaster Ascension. We're playing a lot of creatures and we're hopefully going to be doing a lot of combat. And if that's the case, we need something to push ourselves over the edge. I think the problem that I see this deck having is we're going to just dump great creatures, but we need something to push ourselves through for the win. We need something to push ourselves in for that value, and I think Beastmaster Ascension is one of those pieces. The next is a card like Garruk's Uprising, and we can make sure that more of our humans are going to trigger this. But it says when it enters the battlefield, if we have a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. And I think this is almost always going to be the case because of Joda and its ability, right? When it's down, all of our humans are going to be giant. Creatures you control have trample, which is what we need, right? If we're going to win by combat, we need the trample. And then whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under control, we draw a card. So the thing to remember about Joda when you look at static abilities is when a human enters the battlefield and Joda's out, its power and toughness is actually going to be the bonus when it hits the battlefield because it's a static ability. So Garruk's Uprising is going to see every human we play or comes in with Joda's ability while it's out and is going to draw us those cards. But I think the main part is that trample. That trample is going to be massive, and it's really going to help us out. I'm also thinking of a card like Mirari's Wake. Mirari's Wake's an enchantment that doubles the amount of mana our lands can produce. Well, this is going to be great because eventually we're going to need the mana anyway. You know, we're in 5 colors where we might run into the situation where we don't have enough of a color, and Mirari's Wake can allow us to add. The cool part here is that we can tap these lands that make different colors of mana and get 2 of any type of that mana. Plus, it just buffs all of our creatures. So that's really good. I dig that. I think there's more options here. I will get them as we go. I want to also take a look at some of our artifact options. We have Arcane Signet. Arcane Signet is going to tap for all 5 colors at this point, so it's really good. I would like to play Chromatic Lantern. Chromatic Lantern is a similar thing for 3 mana, but it says all lands have add 1 mana of any color. So this is going to be really good because this is going to let all of our lands tap for any colors, and that's going to help us kind of fix our mana, right? We have 5 colors of mana that we need to acquire, and so this is going to be a little tough. Now, that's why I like things like Relic of Legends and Obsidian Obelisk, is because they're tapping for any color. We'll play the Soul Ring. That's coming down for 1. I know a lot of people don't like playing Mana Crypts, but I think in this deck it's going to become important, not for Joda, but for a lot of these humans. So what I normally do is if I play Mana Crypt, I play Urza's Saga. And the reason is Urza's Saga can go get us an artifact card with mana cost 0 or 1, which right now is going to be Soul Ring or a Mana Crypt. So either way, it's going to go get us one of our of those. Now, we may end up adding another artifact that costs 0 or 1. We haven't really got there yet. But because, like, for example, I think that, what is it, Mox Amber? Mox Amber taps for a color among legendary creatures and planeswalkers we control, and that's 0. That fits this deck really well, right? Because we have a ton of legendary things, whether they be creatures, anything like that. So I think this is going to become really important, because with Joda out, then this taps for all 5 colors, and that's a Cheerio. That's 0, so that can go be got off of Urza's Saga. I'm trying to think. There aren't a ton of other cards that I can think of off the top of my head. The only other one I can think of would be maybe something like Chromatic Orrery. For 7 mana, it comes down and we can spend mana or mana of any color, and it taps for 5. That could be something that's interesting, and it is legendary, which means it would trigger Joda when it comes down. So I think that's worth considering, right? It's going to fix our mana colors, and then it will trigger Joda to go get almost every human in our deck. Now, there was a big discussion on the internet over the last week when it came to Joda. And I think we need to talk about it because it will help. There it is, Gigantha. This is a companion from Ikoria. The way the companion mechanic works is as long as our deck satisfies the requirement for companion, we can start this card outside the game in a special zone, and then for 3 mana we can bring it into our hand and play it. Well, Gigantha says no card in your starting deck has more than one of the same mana symbol in its cost. So if we want to play Gigantha as a companion, really right now what we would lose is we would lose Rick, mainly Rick and Sereth, but Rick primarily, and I don't think I want that. I really want Rick. Because I think Rick is going to push our human strategy forward more than anything else. So as much as I like Gigantha and in the idea of Gigantha, I don't think we can. I like Adeline. I like Sereth. Tori's not really that big of a deal. It might actually end up getting cut, but it may not if you think about it with... because it's an attack trigger. If we're going to play Ishin and Wolfgar, it actually may not get cut. It may actually be exactly what we want. But especially with those two and then something like Maya... I think we can't. I don't think we can justify it. I think if we want to go, especially for like Bear Umbra, but the big thing there is it lets us put the Great Henge in, if that's something we want to do, to give our creatures tokens and draw cards when 9-token creatures come in, and it's probably going to come down pretty soon. I think I'm willing to take the Gigantha trade-off to have the Great Henge. Okay. Other things that we wanted to add. I think we need to go into ramp because some of it's going to become really important. We have Farseek. We have 3 visits. Now, right now, we're doing the ramp cards that are going to go get us specific types. So Farseek gets us anything that's a plains, island, swamp, or mountain. Nature's Lore gets us a forest. 3 visits gets us a forest card, and those can be non-basic, so they can go get any one of these tri-lands. So I really like that. I don't mind the idea of like a Sylvan Scrying. This just lets us go get any land card of our choice and put it in our hand. And I also don't mind the idea of something like Crop Rotation. Crop Rotation lets us sacrifice a land, go get a land of our choice, put it onto the battlefield. This is going to be good because if we have too many of a certain type, we can sack a land and go get something else. So I like that. I like the idea of Growth Spiral. Draw a card, put a land from our hand on the battlefield. We can find a couple more of these effects. Like maybe we're looking at something like Explore. Explore lets us draw a card and then play an additional land. So something like that could be good, especially since we're going to be drawing. It seems like a decent amount of cards, and we have a lot of non-basic lands. If we were playing a lot of basic lands, we play Cultivate, we play Kadama's Reach, we play Rampant Growth. But the thing is, I actually don't think that the basic lands are going to do us as much good as we think they are. I think we're better off playing these less basic lands and going that route. So I think this looks pretty good for now. We're at 86. I want to move over to Joda's page. So in some previous videos and in some future videos, I'm going to switch up the style. In some videos, I'm going to build from the top of my head, and then we'll move into EDHREC to finish out the deck. And then in some videos, we're going to start at EDHREC and just build a deck from EDHREC, because I think that both of those routes are particularly viable. This, for example, is a deck archetype that I kind of had an idea in the back of my head, but once we get to a commander that I don't have an idea in the back of my head, or I only know the strategy, building from EDHREC can be really important. I just wanted to see kind of where I thought I was at with the deck before we moved to EDHREC. All right, so I pulled up Joda's page. Now, when you go pull up a commander, if you look to them, if you go by color, like if I go to 5 color here and pull up Joda this way, which Joda does not have that many decks yet. So you're going to come to this page. You're going to come to Joda just as a 5 color commander. And here on EDHREC, we get the option to hit by theme. So we can go legends, which is something we're interested in. But remember, we're interested in humans more than anything else. And as much as legends would be good, because it's going to give us a lot of really good pieces, I want to go human tribal just because I want to see if there's any humans I missed, any humans that I realize we really, really need. And also to see what other people that are going human tribal are looking at. So what we're going to do here is we're going to scroll down the page. We're looking for cards to add in. And then once we get down to instants and sorceries, we're going to be, deciding on our removal spells and that kind of thing. We'll get down to enchantments. We'll see if people are looking at this the same way we are. And then we'll go down to the lands, and we'll have to make our last decision on how we fill out the rest of our land base. But look, we start here at the top. We see Jensen, we see Darian, we see Sinead. So we see all of kind of where we're on the right page when it comes to humans. We see Relic of Legends and Plaws of Heroes. Now, the funny part is all 5 of these cards are from Dominaria United, so it makes sense that they're up here in the new card space. But all of them, if you look, have over 30% synergy, meaning that a lot of people see the benefit to them, and they're working really well. So I like these. So we're down into the high synergy. We got Catilda, so we're on the right page. General Kudrow of Dranath, I actually didn't even think about. I didn't know this card existed. So let's read it. Other humans you control get +1/+1. Great. Whenever it or another human enters the battlefield under control, exile target card from opponent's graveyard. That seems pretty good, especially if we're trying to get rid of other people's stuff. If people have good stuff in their graveyard. And then 2, sacrifice 2 other humans. And remember, we have a bunch of cards that are making human tokens. Destroy target creature power 4 greater. That's an absolute slam dunk. So that's not only helping our human strategy by buffing up our humans, but it's also allowing us to sacrifice humans if we don't need them for a piece of removal. That's only 3 mana, so that's great. So almost anything we play is going to hit that. I did not know that Tulane was a human. I actually didn't think about that. Tulane seems really good. So Tulane, for those that don't know, it's a pretty powerful Bant commander. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you draw a card, then you put a land from your hand on the battlefield. I think Tulane is going to be really important for us in that middle game, getting set up. It is 5 mana, so it's going to take a little bit to get out, but a lot of our humans are 5 mana. And if I recall correctly, so Joda does say lesser CMC. So like if we played Kyler, it wouldn't go get us Tulane. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at all our humans and make sure that we have a lot of, I'm already looking here, Tulane's 5, right? I already see a ton of creatures going down my list so far that are less than 5, which means Tulane's going to go and hit almost anything. So that's really good. That's what we want to make sure. We want to make sure that when we're adding these humans in, we want to make sure that they're cascading into other good things. Urza's Ruinous Blast seems like a really good choice here. Exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. So this is going to take out all of our enchantments, but hopefully this is going to take out none of our creatures, and it's hopefully going to take out a lot of our opponent's creatures. We could always play Karn's Temporal Sundering as well. So these are legendary spells, meaning you can only cast them if you control legendary creature or planeswalker. Now, as a caveat on the Planeswalker, every Planeswalker is legendary, even if the card doesn't say it. Wizards errated that a little bit ago. So if you're looking at a Planeswalker card, but Millzy doesn't say legendary on it, it is. Every single Planeswalker card is legendary. It says target player takes an extra turn after this one. Hopefully that's us. Return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So 6 mana for an extra turn and bouncing a permanent seems pretty good for now. We see Sisay, +1/+1 for each color among other legendary creatures control, and for 5, we can search for a legendary creature and put it on the battlefield. I think Sisay is going to come in to be really important, especially because Ishin is 3, right? Ishin is 3 mana, so it's going to go search Ishin really easily, which is great. Wolfgar's 5, so that's going to be a little bit harder from Sisay. We would need 3 other colors on the battlefield to be able to go and get Wolfgar. But again, we can go get it. Shanid's 4, we can go get that pretty easily. I think Sisay's going to end up searching a lot of other things. All right, General's Enforcer. Legendary creatures, legendary humans you can love indestructible, and we can exile a card to make a human token. The problem here is it's not human. General's Enforcer is not human. So is the 2 mana worth indestructibility? And I think it is. I think it's worth indestructibility. Because you have to remember that we have a couple cards like Heroic Intervention and Flawless Manner that we can play as well. But if you think about it, General's Enforcers is going to take the first board wipe that hits. You know, it's going to be our first line of protection to take that first board wipe. And for 4 mana, we can make human creature tokens, which if we have Kyler out or if we have any of these other humans that care about other humans, we can do that. So I'm okay with playing that card even though it's not legendary, because I think it gives us all of the benefit. We have Joy River the White Captain. This is whenever you cast an historic spell, draw a card. I think we're going to be fine on drawing cards. So I'm not as I'm not as high on that as I am on other things. So we'll pass that for now. Jarina Kudro, whenever it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. And then all of our other humans get +2/+0. This is what we want. This is going to buff our humans. And again, we're going to try to win by combat and or infinite combat. So I think that's exactly what we want. I feel really bad that I missed my boy. I got the monogreen Sirach, but I forgot the Teamer Sirach in Sirach Dragonclaw. Spell can't be countered. Creature controls you control can't be countered, which is great. And then other creatures you control have trample. That is perfect. That is exactly what we want for this deck. That's going to push us forward. It's going to make all of our creatures hit harder, even without Garruk's Uprising. And we can flash it in, which is kind of cool as well. So what we could do there, if we had the extra 5 mana, we could attack, wait to see what our opponent does, and then, bring it back. Bring it back, and from the we could flash it in and give our creatures trample, which I think is really cool. Wrath Capuchin seems kind of interesting. Flash flying, you may cast historic spells as though they had flash. Remember, that's artifacts, legendaries, or sagas. That's definitely interesting because we could do it on someone else's turn, or we could flash something in on someone else's turn. Okay. Especially artifacts too. That's interesting. I think it's worth adding for now. I think Wrath is worth adding for now. Again, I think we're going to have a tough time cutting our humans down, but that's okay. That's what we need to do. Primeval's Glorious Return, 7 mana, return all legendary permanents from your graveyard to the battlefield. I think it's a great card, but I think we're going to skip it just because I want to focus a little more on our combat offense. And so I think we're going to have to end up cutting something like that card. Here we go. Heroes Podium. Each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each legendary creature you control. This mixed with Joda is going to be really bad for our opponents. X and a tap. Look at the top X of your library. You may reveal a legendary creature card from among them. Put it on your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. So Heroes Podium is great because it will... it's going to trigger the Cascade on Joda because it's legendary. And then it's going to give all of our creatures a buff. So that's really good. So we see Kenrith, we see Maya, we see Roderick. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a golem artifact creature token. We're going to do a lot of it, though. So the question becomes, is that extra token worth it? Yeah, I think we'll add it in there for now. It may get cut over other creatures, but I think it's worth to consider it, right? We got Thalia, we got Saskia. Saskia seems really good for this deck. When it comes in, you choose a player. Each creature you control, when it deals combat to another player, it deals damage to that player. Saskia seems like it could be really interesting. And then right next to it, we have Captain Sisay. So what Captain Sisay does is, for just tapping itself, we can go look for any legendary card and put it into our hand. So that's going to be good as well. So I already can see that a lot of the humans we looked at when we first went through our list are kind of immediately getting outclassed by other humans that we're seeing. And that's a good thing. That's what we want. We want our, whatever 28 or 30 humans we end up playing, we want all of them to benefit our strategy. We want all of them to be good for the mana that they are. I kind of like the idea of Ravos. Flying, other creatures get +1/+1, and getting our upkeep, we can bring a card back. The only thing that worries me is it's 5 mana. That just seems like a lot for what we're trying to do. So I'm not sure on that one. I still like EDHREC. We see Rick here. We see Garth One Eye. I'm just not big on Garth One Eye. We see Morathon, which would definitely be a choice, but I don't know. I don't know that I see the benefit. I don't even know what this card is. I remember seeing Jaren when Midnight Hunt came out. Well, let's take a look at it. Whenever enters the battlefield or another non-token human you control dies, you lose a life, critical 1. 2 target human you control gets life. Then at the beginning of your end step, if you have exactly 13 life, you can play 6 black and transform it. Okay, so not as good as I thought. Najeela. I don't think Najeela fits what we want to do. Bruce Taro kind of does, but again, I think it misses it. Faldhorn doesn't seem bad either because Joda is going to cast it from exile. So Findhorn would give us the wolves, but that's okay. I think we're going to move on. Let's move into our instance. So the two that I see automatically that I want to add in are Heroic Intervention and Assassin's Trophy. Heroic Intervention is a protection spell for our entire board. I think we're going to add Flawless Maneuver as well, another basically indestructible spell. Now this one we get to cast for free as long as we control our commander. And then Assassin's Trophy is one of the single best 2-mana removal spells in the game. Destroys any target permanent. And then its controller may search library for a basic land. And I think we pair that with Anguished Unmaking, which is going to exile any permanent. So this is going to go ahead and help us hit This is going to go ahead and help us hit any other permanent. Now, we do take the 3 life, but I think the 3 life is more than worth removing something we really need to remove. We have Path to Exile, which I think is a good choice as well. It's going to help us exile a creature for 1 mana. I see Dire Tactics, which I really like. And I really like Dire Tactics in this deck because we're going to have a ton of humans. So it says exile target creature and you lose life equal to its toughness unless you have a human. Well, we're going to have lots of humans. So Dire Tactics becomes even better in this deck than probably a myriad of other cards. I know why Swords is so well played. I just, my buddy Mikey here from our podcast, he probably, if you listen to the podcast, you've heard him say it. If not, you will hear him say it multiple times. He prefers Path over Plowshares, give an opponent a land instead of life. And I think I agree with him more often than not, because giving your opponent life, unless you plan on taking that life away from them, is kind of a scary thing. And then I think we add Boros Charm as well. We want to have a lot of cards that are going to protect our board. So we have Boros Charm, we have Flawless Maneuver, we have Heroic Intervention. Lots of ways to protect our board. That's going to become the most important thing. I like the idea of Teferi's Protection. I just don't think we're going to end up having enough mana. But I do like the idea of Eladamri's Call, but we'll get there in a second. But I do like Cyclonic Rift. Cyclonic Rift is a very good card. It does a good job at pushing games back and ending them. So I really like them. The card I think I want to play instead of Eladamri's Call is Worldly Tutor. And the reason is because Worldly Tutor puts a creature on top of our library. And I like that because in response to a creature being cast off Joda, we could go pick a creature and put it on top. And I guess the other good thing about Eladamri's Call is it puts it in our hand. So that's not bad either. Like Vampiric Tutor does almost the same thing. You know, it goes and gets any card and puts it on top. I don't think I mind that either, because if we were to go cast a legendary card, we can put any other legendary card we want on the top. So I like adding those guys for now. We're going to keep going. We see the Worldly Tutor. I don't really plan on playing it much counter magic. Enlightened Tutor may not be as important, but it could be important, especially if we really want to go high in on these enchantments. Like the other one I just thought about that I think is going to be good is like Teamer Ascendancy, giving all of our creatures haste and then doing the same thing with power 4 greater, drawing a card. So we have this, we have Garruk's Uprising, we have Great Henge, we have all these other things that are getting things when things come in, especially off of Joda. So I think that's going to become really important. So I kind of like the Enlightened Tutor more now because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 enchantments we really want. We have what'll end up being probably 10 artifacts we really want. Think about this. If we get Enlightened Tutor early, we could go get Chromatic Lantern early if we really needed it, or we could go get a Relic of Legends early, or that kind of thing. We can go get those early and use them if we really need them. So that's kind of why I like Enlightened Tutor more than some other things. Okay, so we see a card that I think I really like the look of, because I think once we get to a high amount of mana, it's really going to do well for us, and that's Kamahl's Juridic Vow. It's another legendary sorcery, so we can only cast it if we control legendary. It says, look at the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of lands or legendary permanents with CMC X or less from them onto the battlefield. Put the rest into your graveyard. I think this is going to end up being really good because at the moment, I think the biggest permanent we have is the Great Henge at 9. And then from there, we have a couple 7s. So even for 6 mana into X, which would be 8 on Kamahl's, we would get almost every human we would see off the top, and we'd get every land. The only bad part is we would dump any enchantments we find. But I think Kamahl's Juridic Vow is one of those cards that works well when you just dump a ton of mana into it and get a lot of really great things. Can't play Rampant Growth, can't play Cultivate at the moment because, again, we're not playing basics. I do like Sky Shroud Claim, and I do like Demonic Tutor, so I think both of those are good. Sky Shroud, it's the same thing as... same thing as Nature's Lore and that, except it gets 2 forests instead of 1. So anything that has a forest type, we can go get. So hopefully maybe on turn 3, we could Sky Shroud's Claim and get a couple extra lands. And then Demonic Tutor is just going to go get us any card in our library and go get us a land. Heaven forbid if we needed one. It can go get us just about anything. All right, so we need to think about what... We need to think about what board wipes we're playing. And... because every deck needs at least 1 or 2 board wipes. Here, I think it's... I like Ruinous Ultimatum. I'm just worried about the color pips. I like Vanquish the Hordes. I think it's... right now, I like Winds of Abandon, just because it's going to hit all of our opponent's creatures and not ours, which I think will end up being really important. You know, we have Ruinous Blast, so that is 1 board wipe. So Winds of Abandon would be 2. Ideally, we'd want 1 more board wipe. You know, Blasphemous Act played really well with Tajik, which prevents damage to our own creature. But the question becomes, how often are we going to see that on our side of the board? I do like Ruinous Ultimatum, though, because this is just drawing non-land permanents your opponent's control. I don't mind Farewell, because Farewell can hit almost everything, and it's just a really good card. So I'm going to have to come back on my 3rd board wipe. At the moment, it's looking like Vanquish the Hordes, but I think we can come back on it. So let's move into artifacts, our utility artifacts. So this is not mana artifacts. EDHREC has 2 separate tabs for artifacts. Utility artifacts, which most of the time mean things with other effects, and then mana artifacts, which are, of course, artifacts that tap for mana. I like the idea of Herald's Horn, but I'm hoping we can focus on ramp and not really need it. I love the idea of a Chroma's Memorial because it has legendary, which means we're going to cascade off of it with Joda. So I am more willing to look at a Chroma's Memorial for that reason, because it is legendary. We saw the Great Henge. I think Helm of the Host seems like a really good idea. It's going to be tough to equip, But maybe this is why we justify playing Astor for Sword of the Feast and Famine and Helm of the Host, so we can attach them a little bit easier. And maybe that's a reason we play Danitha as well. Although we don't want Helm of the Host on Danitha, we really want Helm of the Host on Joda, right? To buff our creatures even more. I don't really see anything else that jumps out to me. Like Shadow Spear, you could argue would be really good, and it's legendary. I see the benefit of something like Blackblade Reforged because it would buff our creatures, but I just don't see anything that I truly love. So let's go down to the enchantments. Day of Destiny. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+2 for 4 mana. I don't love it. I'd kind of rather play like Rhythm of the Wild and Smothering Tide than Rhystic Study rather than Day of Destiny. I do get that it's legendary, which makes a huge difference. But I think like Rhystic Study and Rhythm of the Wild are both going to do us more good because they're both going to give us more advantage. Rhystic Study is going to draw us cards, which is exactly what we need to do. Rhythm of the Wild means that our creature spells can't be countered. And then all our non-token creatures come in with our choice of either a +1/+1 counter or haste. So it's another haste enabler for all of our creatures coming down. I like Smothering Tithe. I know we're getting kind of high up on the number of cards in our deck, and Smothering Tithe will probably end up coming out, but I think it's worth putting in for now. See, I can see the benefit of Guardian Project, but I'm not sure. I see the benefit of Kindred Discovery because it draws us a card, but I'm not sure. I think I much prefer Team or Ascendancy, and then I think I really like Shared Animosity. When a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other creature that shares a type with it attacking. Remember, all of our creatures are going to be humans, and most of the tokens we're creating are humans as well, which means on attack declaration, all of our creatures are hopefully going to get a giant benefit. So I really like Shared Animosity there. Again, good argument for Cathar's Crusade. I just don't see it. Dahada, I don't actually mind. I would like to see what Dahada could do in a deck. So maybe this comes in here for now just as something to try out. And then worst case scenario, it gets cut later. But I mean, I'd be interested to see what it would do in this deck. Kaya makes a bunch of sense there, but I don't know that I like it as much. Okay, we'll get into the legendary lands. Are any of them worth playing? You could argue Beseiju would be really worth playing. You could argue Yavimaya would be really good, especially since we're centered in green. Or we have a lot of green for ramp spells and that kind of thing. This would turn all of our lands into forests. Same thing with Urborg, could give access to all of them to black. So I think both of those could be potentials. So why don't we add them? I actually think they're going to end up getting cut, but I think I'll add just the Yavimaya for now. I see a lot more white than green at the moment. So maybe that's the Yavimaya isn't as worth it. The only thing is all of my ramp is in green. So that's why I think the Yavimaya might be good, because if we see it right away, I think it would be worth having there. We go into the artifacts, we see the same things: Chromatic Lantern, Mox Amber. Did not think about Felwar Stone. That's actually a really good idea. Felwar Stone, because it taps for any mana your opponents could produce, which in a game of Commander should be at least, even on the worst case scenario where all of our opponents are playing monocolored and they're playing monocolors that are different, it's going to tap for one of 3 colors. But in the average case, it's going to tap for just about any color we'd need. So I like that. We see the Chromatic Aura, we see the Timeless Lotus. I like the Celestis, because when it becomes day or night, you can gain a life and loot. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if I like it more than other things that we have, but I see the benefit there. The only other good thing about this is if we play like Urza's Ruinous Blast, the Celestis would stay, whereas not the rest of our mana artifacts would stay. So I guess that's an argument, but I don't see it. Path of Ancestry seems really good since all of our creatures are humans. Path of Ancestry will tap for any color. I think Cavernous Souls probably works well here. Cavernous Souls will tap for any color once we choose a type, and we're of course going to choose humans. So it'll tap for any color, and then that human can't be countered, which I really like. We'll get into the Shocklands in a second. I like the idea of the World Tree, but we have really no gods in our deck. It just allows our lands to tap for anything. So the question becomes, is it worth the slot even if we don't have any gods in our deck? And I think the answer is yes. I think the world tree becomes good because it, again, lets all of our lands tap for any color, and that's what we're going to need eventually. We're going to have to hit this point where all of our things need to tap. The City of Brass, Mana Confluence, Reflecting Pool. These are the really tough ones because I want them because they're going to do exactly what we want them to do. And the question is going to become, so Reflecting Pool, Mana Confluence, and City of Brass. We'll probably end up cutting at least one of those. But them being able to tap for any color, I think, just becomes really important. And I don't think I realized how many great lands we have that tap for all 5 colors. We may not even need the shock lands. We may not even need any other cycles of lands. The fetches and the triomes are enough. The only problem is we have 1, 2, 3, 4 extra things that look for forests. So we have we have 10 fetches and we have 4 spells that look for forests, and we only have a set amount of tri-lands that have green in them. So what we may need to do is bring in maybe the shocks that have green in them specifically, which would be 4 of them, and then maybe look into something else that way. Maybe we just add the shocks that have green so that we can go get them with these, because we have a pretty good coverage of all the rest of the colors that way. I really like the look of the one land cycle that I really was looking at for this deck because of how many different land types we're going to have are the check lands. I really thought about adding, the check lands in as a cycle, maybe even just the green ones, or even some of them, because we're going to have so many of the land types already. But we can get into that in a second. All right, we're at about 131, so we're going to have to make a ton of cuts, but that's okay. Let's go through this page really quick. This is Human Tribal. Let's just do a quick scope through and make sure there aren't any legendary humans that I didn't think about. Remember, we're going to try to avoid the non-legendary humans just because we want to make sure that we have really good benefits from Joda, meaning that every creature that comes down is going to be legendary. We're going to go down into the spells. I like Call the Copper Coats. I just don't think we're going to end up having a spot for it. We have better things than Terminate, like Dire Tactics there, which I really like. We have our tutors, which are going to end up becoming really important. We have our spells. We have our ramp spells. We probably, I guess, could justify another draw spell. I don't mind the idea of a Triumph of the Hordes as well, because it's going to end up becoming... It is something that could end up becoming something to end a game if we have a big board, but we don't have Trample. So I like Triumph of the Hordes as an example there. The only thing I never looked at was if there was any of the legendaries that Planeswalkers that we really cared about. And to be honest, I don't think I care as much about the Planeswalkers. There might end up being cut anyway. So it's probably not really going to matter. All right, so we need to finish up our lands. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to add all of the green shock lands. We have Breeding Pool. That is green-blue. We have Temple Garden. That's green-white. We have Overgrown Tomb, which is green-black. And then we have Stomping Ground, which is green-red. Again, gives us more of the green sources for our searchers. And I think this land base seems really good. I think I'm going to cut the City of Brass. We're playing Mana Confluence as well, but we have a bunch of other stuff. But I think I like this. I think this will end up being good. I guess the argument could be you could cut the Cradle of Growth for City of Brass. But I think I like the Yamamao because if we don't have any other green sources, it's going to allow us to have a green source for all of those. So we're at 135, which means we need a lot of cuts. And unfortunately, what this is going to end up being is making cuts now, and we can always bring them back in later. So let's start at the spells. I think I'm going to put the Sylvan Scrying up here for now. Oh, well, that doesn't do me much good. We can just leave it over here. All right, so we cut the Sylvan Scrying for now. I kind of want to cut Kamal's Druidic Vow for now. As much as I really like it, I think we're going to have a lot better value out of some other spells. And I really like Explore, just because that's going to help us push ahead in ramp. I really like the rest of this. It might even be Karn's Temporal Sundering for now. It's a card that I really want to bring back in, but I think we need to see what else we have first, and then we can worry about... no, I think we keep it in. Okay. Minsk and Boo, as much as I really like it, it might be the one of these two that gets cut first. Joda says, up to one target creature gains Vigilance, Lifelink, or Indestructible until my next turn. That's great, because we can give it Indestructible. Top 4 cards you elaborate, put any number of legendary cards from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Create a treasure token for each card put in your graveyard. That's great because it's going to net us some mana. Minus 11, gain control of all non-land permanents until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste until end of turn. Okay. I mean, I think Joda is clearly the better choice there. So I really like that. I really like the 33 lands. That's perfect. I don't think anything changes. Let's go into enchantments. I think we cut the Tithe for now. The problem is I think the rest of these seem really good. I guess the argument could be for Beastmaster Ascension, since Joda's another copy of Beastmaster Ascension. So maybe we do that. But I really like the rest of these, and they're going to fit into this aggressive game plan we have, and Rhystic Study is just going to end up drawing cards for us, which is going to be good. Let me rephrase that. It has the potential to draw us cards. I feel like I have to say that because a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, Millzy, you can't guarantee that people aren't going to pay the one. And I guess that's fair. But I think more often than not, Rhystic Study will draw me cards. And in my play group, it more often than not draws me cards. I have yet to find a situation where I've committed a Rhystic Study to board and haven't drawn at least one card in a round of 3 players' turns. So, if not more. So, Anguished Unmaking, great. Assassin's Tribute, great. Bearer's Charm. Maybe we cut the crop rotation for now. Cyclonic Rift, great. Our Tactics, great. Eldamri's Call, maybe we cut this for now and just we can see where it comes back in. E-Tutor we need. Flawless Maneuver we need. Growth Spiral I think we can cut for now. Heroic Intervention is good. Path is good. Vamp Tutor is good. Worldly Tutor is good. All right, so I like those for now. We're down to 127. I think a lot of these are going to end up coming out of the creatures. But let's keep going. Let's look at our artifacts. I think I'm going to cut Timeless Lotus for now. I think we have a lot of better artifacts and a lot of better things. And I think more often than not, Timeless Lotus is going to end up costing too much mana. But if you think about it, it does cascade with Joda, though. That's a tough decision. Great Henge I really like, although I guess you could argue it's not as needed because we have so many other things. So I think the Great Henge might be able to go for now. Feast and Famine I really like. It's going to tap our lands. Heck, even Soul Ring might be able to come out here. Or the Crypt could be able to come out because we're going to end up having a lot, but I think it really helps us. Relic of Legends I like. The Obelisk I like. I like the Mox Amber and the Mana Crypt. Heroes Podium I really like. Helm of the Host I really like. Maybe we cut the Chromatic Orrery. Chromatic Lantern, and I think I'm going to cut the Memorial. It just seems like it's going to be really expensive. All right, so we're down to 24. We can't cut 24 creatures. We're going to need a bunch of creatures. That's kind of the point of our deck. So we're going to need to cut some cards from elsewhere. I think I'm going to cut Heroes Podium for now. Heroes of Podium will be a card that will go in my sideboard when I test this deck, though, because it's something I think could be really good. But I really like all of these cards because they're going to give us a lot of bonus as far as mana goes, and we're going to need it. It's going to become something that is going to get really important. All right, I'm going to switch here. Is Table what I want? No, it's not. Is Scroll what I want? Scroll is what I want. No, I really would like to just see it laid out as a grid. There we go. Okay. The grid is going to become important because we need to look at all of our humans and we need to start making tough decisions on what gets cut. We have 48 of them. We need to cut 23 creatures, and we'll end up probably cutting 20 and then, cutting a couple other cards from elsewhere. Okay. So what do we cut? This is going to be a tough because there's a lot of really great humans here. Is there any way to move to maybe board in this view? I guess there really isn't. If I go to the brewer tab, I guess it just puts my maybe board up top, which is a little more helpful. Can I move a card up there? I can. Okay, so this is probably what we're going to have to do. Adeline I really like. It becomes big for 3 mana, and then when it attacks, we get more humans. Adriana I like. It has the attack benefit. Astor I really like. For the Helm of the Host combo, it could be one of the ones to go quicker. Atla Palani, as much as I like it, I guess you could argue it doesn't work as well. Captain Sisse's great. Chulane is great. Porter, I think, can get cut for now. Danitha, I think, gets cut for now. Raven Guard, unfortunately, because of all the legendary rule, isn't going to be as good as we think it's going to be. Pardon me, so it's going to get cut. It's also 6 mana. So, Ferris Roderick, I like it. I wonder if the extra tokens really do us any good. Kudrow, I love. General's Enforcer, I love. Gerard, pardon me, I think we cut for now. Han Eleno, I love. Ishin, I love. Jensen, I love. The only bad part about Jensen is we're going to almost always never get the Angel because we don't have any 5-color creatures, but that's okay. I think the Scry one is literally always going to be worth it. And the other good thing about Jensen is if we have 5 mana, it's all 1 color. We can put it in for 5 of any, and with a couple of the cards we have, this is going to tap for mana anyway. Jirina Kudrow, I like because it gets us the tokens and it gives all our humans +2/+0. Jolene with the treasures, I really like it, but I think we have to put it to the maybe board for now. Karavek is just going to end up being too expensive. Kambal I really like. Katilda I really like. Kenrith feels like an absolute jack of all trades, but I need to cut it for now because I think I want to focus a little more on combat. Darian I like. Kyler I like. Maya I like because it hits the benefits. Macias the Lunarch can probably get cut for now. Minsk can probably get cut for now, as much as I really like Minsk. Odric seems like a really big player there because of Odric, so you know whenever it and 3 other creatures attack, you choose which creatures block this combat and how they block, meaning you can have no creatures block. So it is going to very much push us through for games. Raf, I really like, but I think it comes out. Rick is a mainstay. I think it's really good. Riona can come out as much as I like it. Sakashima feels worth it. Smoke gives everything haste. Seraph is going to give everything Death Touch, which is going to pair really well. Saskia is very good. Shanid's very good, gives everything Menace. Sisse's very good, although I think I like Captain Sisse more than this one. They're both really good. Sparked Up is good. I like Stang, 2 creatures for 1. Sten, I think, comes out. Sirach Dragonclaw is great. Sirach's great. Tajik's great. Tyrannique is in here just for its benefit with Ishin and with Wolfgar, so I really like it. I think it gets kept. Torrens seems really good, but we want to keep some of these on that low end, otherwise we'll never end up actually cascading into anything. And then Tori works really well with Ishin and Wolfgar. We're at 109. 34 creatures. So in all reality, I think 4 creatures can go. I think we can probably get down to at least 30 creatures, if not 29. So we're going to go back over it again and just think about it. Astor is literally only good for getting those 2 pieces of equipment. So maybe he comes out because we're going to have creatures that have so much other benefit. Adriana I really like because that melee is going to go off twice with Ishin and Wolfgar, so it seems really good. I like Chulane, I like Kudrow, I like the Enforcer. I like Lana Elena. I'm not up on Jirina. Like, I like the idea of the +2/+0, but maybe there's other effects that just get us more benefit than the +2/+0. So maybe Jirina Kudrow comes out. I like Kambal, especially if it comes down early. It's a little bit of a tax on our opponents. Love Katilda. I love Darian. I like Kyler, because Kyler, if we can get it out and get it going, will win us games with buffing all the rest of our creatures even more. Maya I just really like because it gets us the token and it's the buff. Is it Sirach, maybe? Because we have a couple other things that give all of our creatures haste. Well, we don't. See, I was thinking about adding Concordant Crossroads to give all of our creatures haste. So maybe we take out Sirach, the regular one. I kind of like this one because it gives all our creatures trample. And it's going to become important. That brings us down to 106 and 31 creatures. Man, this is tough. This is really tough because I think every human in this deck is just really good. I guess the argument could be made we could cut Spark Double, but I don't want to cut Spark Double because it can copy Joda and it can copy literally anything else. It could copy Kyler. It could copy all of these beneficial humans that we have. And I don't want to cut Sakushima either because literally for the same reason. You know, Sakushima is a reason to keep Juke or Raven Guard, but how often are we going to guarantee we see them at the same time? And the answer to that is not very often. I guess we could cut Rhythm of the Wild. Like in the grand scheme of things, Temur Hennessy gives the same haste, but gives also the buff. So I guess we could cut that. For artifacts, I kind of want to be bold and cut Soul Ring. I know people are going to be mad at me for that, but we have the Mana Crypt and we have the Mox Amber, and both of them can be searched off Urza Saga. So we still have plenty. Did I not add Urza Saga? I didn't add Urza Saga. Did I accidentally Oh, I just looked in the wrong spot. Okay, there's the Saga's in there. So good. Both those are searchable off that. And I think 2 searchable is fine. Man, we're at 104. Guys, this is where deck building gets the toughest. It's when you're going down from a big stack of cards to 100 cards. Man, this is really tough. This is really, really tough. Vampiric Tutor does the same thing Worldly Tutor does, but can get anything. And Joda looks for anything. But I think having the more wide open tutor, maybe we cut Worldly Tutor for now. Bring this down to 103. I still feel like 31 humans is a lot. But I'm having a tough time deciding on what else we cut from the humans. I think what I'm going to have to do for the purpose of this video is just cut another human or two. And then what I'm going to tell you is you should test the deck. See where the humans lie. And if you need to put other humans back in, you do. So I think I'm going to cut Taranika because the Vigilance isn't something that I'm that worried about. I like Tajik because it stops the damage. But maybe the argument is there's just other better humans. So maybe it's Tajik. That gets us down to 101. The answer just feels like Felwar Stone to me, even though I really like it. Okay, well, hey, at the end of the day, it's me brewing this deck. And at the end of the day, that means that I have to make the choices that I would make. And we are now down to 100. We did it. Our maybe board is 35 deep of cards. All right, so here we are. Joda humans. We did it. Our humans deck is revolved around getting value when they come in, getting a good combat, and I think we did a pretty good job. So what I'm going to do is get this deck proxied out, give it a few tries. Let me know now in the comments if you want to see my future thoughts on any of these Millzy Brew decks. Every deck that I've done so far for Millzy Brews, Zaxara, Sithis, and this deck are going to be tested out on Monday night. I'm going to be making my own changes to them. The Joda humans, again, like I said, I have had the Kyler deck, and it's something I enjoy, but there are so many other humans that I want to play. So if you want to hear an update about this deck, throw it down in the comments. I would love to provide you guys with updates, maybe in a future video about any of these decks and how I played them. But basically, I'm going to leave the deck as it is right now with the maybe board and everything. And I'm going to put the link down in the comments so you guys can, or down in the description so you can get and play with this deck. Copy the deck, do whatever you want with it, make it your own. But I think I'm really proud of this Humans deck. I think it's about what I would expect. And like I said, I will probably cut the maybe down. The maybe board will get cut down to probably about 10 cards for myself, cards that I consider putting back in. And over the course of a few games, we will see what good we can do. The only other thought that I have at the end of this that you could do is maybe cutting a couple of the fetch lands, maybe going down to 7 or 6 fetch lands, and putting in a couple of the check lands, maybe just to give you some more untapped sources, even though I think that there's plenty of land sources in the deck, especially really good ones. So guys, that's it. That's all I have for you as far as Joda Humans goes. If you guys like this kind of thing, if you really like this deck building thing, leave a comment. Let me know that you like it. Let me know what you want to see next. I have 2 more DMU United Commanders planned for now, and then I'm going to be doing at least 2 40k Commanders as well coming up over the next couple weeks. And then from there, we're going to try to keep these decks as relevant as possible, doing the new Commanders when they come out, putting my thoughts on them. Not every deck that I build on here will get brought to our Monday night table and played, but I think for a lot of them they will, and I'm excited to see how they do at our table. But guys, that's all I have for you this afternoon. I hope you guys enjoy me brewing live. I hope this is something you guys are interested to see. If you have some card that I missed that you really think I should be playing, throw it down in the comments, and maybe you'll jump my brain on something else to play. But for the moment, I think I really like this deck. I think it has about everything I'd want from it, and I'm excited to test it out. But other than that, I will catch you guys next time.